nation of Americans has come together to make our country freer, fairer, and stronger. None of us ever have or can do it alone. I know that at a time when so much seems to be pulling us apart, it can be hard to imagine how we'll ever pull together. But I'm here to tell you tonight, progress is possible. I know because I've seen it in the lives of people across America who get knocked down and get right back up. And I know it from my own life. More than a few times, I've had to pick myself up and get back in the game. Like so much else in my life, I got this from my mother, too. She never let me back down from any challenge. When I tried to hide from a neighborhood bully, she literally blocked the door. Go back out there, she said. And she was right. You have to stand up to bullies. You have to keep working to make things better, even when the odds are long and the opposition is fierce. We lost our mother a few years ago, but I miss her every day, and I still hear her voice urging me to keep working, keep fighting for right no matter what. That's what we need to do together as a nation. And though we may not live to see the glory, as the song from the musical Hamilton goes, let us gladly join the fight. Let our legacy be about planting seeds in a garden you never get to see. That's why we're here, not just in this hall, but on this earth. The founders showed us that, and so have many others since. They were drawn together by love of country and the selfless passion to build something better for all who follow. That is the story of America, and we begin a new chapter tonight. Yes, the world is watching what we do. Yes, America's destiny is ours to choose. So let's be stronger together, my fellow Americans. Let's look to the future with courage and confidence. Let's build a better tomorrow for our beloved children and our beloved country. And when we do, America will be greater than ever. Thank you, and may God bless you and the United States of America. Let's be stronger together. No, let's be stronger together. Together. come together to make our country freer, fairer, and stronger.
I make no bones about it. I've had my differences with some Israeli leadership. I've known BEBE for now 51 years. He has a picture on his desk of he and I when he was a young member of the Israeli service here, foreign service. And I was a 32-year-old senator. And I wrote on the top of BEBE, I love you, but I don't agree with a damn thing you have to say. It's about the same today. I love him. But look, we will continue to lead the world on humanitarian assistance to innocent Palestinian civilians who emphasize to our friends, to our Israeli friends, we need to protect civilian life. And let me be clear, Hamas using rape, sexual violence, and terrorism and torture of Israeli women and girls is appalling and unforgivable. When I was there, saw some of the photographs. It's beyond, it's beyond comprehension. We all have to condemn such brutality without equivocation, without exception. I also recognize your hurt from the silence and the fear and for your safety. Because the surge of anti-Semitism in the United States of America and around the world is sick. Thanksgiving on steroids. Well, that's pretty good from Rabbi Dr. Glatt, and theological and medical opinion merged into one. Look, more seriously, rabbis described America as a great nation of kindness. And that's what we must always be, a great nation of kindness. That's not hyperbole, that's a fact. You know, we're the most unique nation in the world. We're the only nation that's not based on ethnicity or religion, right? We're based on an idea. An idea. We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women are created equal. It's an idea. So that's what, and our basis of our strength is not the example of our power, but the power of our example. In each successive generation, the Hanukkah story provides a powerful lesson and nourishes the wellspring of hope. In darkness, there's light, and cynicism, there's hope and optimism, and an unyielding belief that miracles are possible.
Mr. Imhoff and Rabbi Buchta.
President Biden, Second Gentleman Imhoff, and to this, my beautiful extended Jewish mishpacha, I am deeply humbled to offer a blessing on this holiday. Hanukkah always falls in the calendar's shortest days, but for the Jewish people, the darkness came earlier this year, after Hamas's brutal slaughter and kidnapping of Israeli civilians on October 7th. And since that devastating day, it's only gotten darker, with many around the world justifying terrorism, normalizing anti-Semitism, with the pain of so many lives lost, Israeli and Palestinian, in this just but tragic war. The darkness has felt like the biblical plague, so thick that we can no longer see one another. But Mr. President, you have been a beacon of strength. The light good thing to say. The light of your moral clarity in your first speech on October 10th brought tears to our eyes. You've been a steadfast supporter of Israel's right to defend itself, a trusted and true friend of the Jewish people, and we are deeply, deeply grateful. And tonight, we gather in front of a symbol of our unbreakable bond. This beautiful menorah we light is not just in the White House, it is of the White House, built from actual timbers from this building, reminding us that the Jewish people have always been a part of the foundation of this great nation. And tonight, we are further blessed to be joined by 5 candlelighters, White House staffers, all descendants of Holocaust survivors whose flames burn brightly in them. There's a Hanukkah commandment of Pirsum HaNes, of publicizing the miracle of light and showing our menorahs openly, although in times of danger we are permitted to keep them hidden. At a moment when so many people feel afraid, we thank you, President Biden, for enabling us to publicly light this menorah in the people's house, for creating a symbol of pride that reminds the entire world that Jewish Americans will always have a place here. It is a miracle we do not take for granted. I thank you so much for this honor. We now invite up Second Gentleman Inhofe, who will light the first flame and pass the candles to our candle lighters, and together our lights will banish the darkness. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Chanukah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asa nisim lavoteinu bayamim hahem ba'azman hazeh ma'otzur yeshuati lechana elishabeach tikon betefilati v'sham toda nizabeach le'tachin matbeach mitzaram nabeach az egmor b'shir mizmor Chanukah tamizbeach az egmor b'shir mizmor Chanukah tamizbeach. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States.
Well, Rabbi, thank you, and thank you for your blessing. You know, thank you, Doug, and the staff for lighting the special White House menorah. As Doug said, that was on a piece of material from one of the beams in the White House. And I thought at that time we had a permanent menorah here in the White House. And to all of you, this means so much to Jill and me and to Doug and Kamala. That you're here. You know, I also want to special thanks to my buddy. I'd stand right here in the front, Chuck Schumer. Chuck's our leader in the Senate. He's a great leader. He recently delivered a powerful and historic speech. And I mean a powerful and historic combating anti-Semitism. I encourage everyone to read it. Everyone in America should read it. Chuck, thank you, pal. You always stand up. Talmud says what comes from the heart goes to the heart. That's the warmth and kinship I feel so deeply with the Jewish community. I got in trouble, got criticized very badly by the southern part of my state and some of the southern parts of the country when 35 years ago I said, you don't have to be a Jew to be a Zionist, and I'm a Zionist. And by the way, you don't have to be a Jew to be a Zionist. Hanukkah is a timeless story of miracles. Think about it. You know, from the Maccabees defeating one of the history's most powerful empires on oil lasting 8 days, it's a miracle all by itself. The flame of faith that endures from tragedy to persecution to survival and to hope. That's what it survives to, survival and hope. But we know this year's Hanukkah is different. It's been 65 years since the deadliest day of the Jewish people since the Holocaust. 65 years. Most of you, and I got to meet with 5 survivors downstairs. That's why we're a little bit late. 5 survivors in each of the camps. I've taken all my children when they turned 14 years of age. My 3 children who lived and my 5 grandchildren. When they're 14 years old, I put them on the plane. I take them to Dhaka. I want them to see. I want them to spend the day there and see. You can't pretend you don't know. Silence is complicity. Most of you know someone directly or indirectly, a family, a friend, who's stolen from you, or wounded, traumatized, or called up in the reserves in this last attack in Israel. As I said after the attack, my commitment to the safety of the Jewish people and security of Israel, his right to exist, as an independent Jewish state is unshakable. Folks, were there no Israel, there wouldn't be a Jew in the world who was safe. Were there no Israel. Hold it down too. I make no bones about it. I've had my differences with some Israeli leadership. I've known BEBE for now 51 years. He has a picture on his desk of he and I when he was a young member of the Israeli service here, foreign service. And I was a 32-year-old senator. And I wrote on the top of it, BEBE, I love you, but I don't agree with a damn thing you had to say. It's about the same today. I love him. But look, it's a tough spot. Tough spot. We continue to provide military assistance to Israel until they get rid of Hamas. But you have to be careful. You have to be careful. The whole world's public opinion can shift overnight. You can't let that happen. We're working relentlessly for the safe return of the hostages. I personally spent countless hours, and I mean it, probably up to 20 hours, with the Qataris and the Egyptians and the Israelis to secure the freedom of hostages, to get the trucks in, to get the humanitarian aid flowing, to convince them to open the gate, to have El-Sisi make sure he opened the gate into Egypt. And there's a whole range of things going on that is really very, very difficult. We've gotten more than 100 hostages out, and we're not going to stop until we get every one of them home. And we'll continue to lead the world in humanitarian assistance to innocent Palestinian civilians, to emphasize to our friends, to our Israeli friends, we need to protect civilian life. And let me be clear, Hamas using rape, sexual violence, and terrorism and torture of Israeli women and girls is appalling and unforgivable. When I was there, saw some of the photographs. And it's beyond comprehension. We all have to condemn such brutality without equivocation, without exception. I also recognize your hurt from the silence and the fear for your safety, because the surge of anti-Semitism in the United States of America and around the world is sickening. You know, we see it across our communities, in schools, in colleges, and social media. They surface painful scars from millennia to hate, to genocide of the Jewish people. My dad was a righteous Christian, for real. My dad used to come home from work. He was a well-read man, never had a chance to go to college. And he'd come home before he closed down the business he didn't own, but he managed to go back and close it. And the kitchen table the dinner table was where we had conversation and incidentally ate. My dad taught us about the horror of the show. He talked about why we didn't let the ship in, why we didn't bomb the railroad tracks, and on and on and on. But I said, it awakened in me and my brothers and sisters and our children a sense, and our grandchildren, that this can happen again. Silence is complicity. Silence is complicity. As I said, that's why I've taken all of my children and grandchildren to Dachau and one to Auschwitz. Look, folks, we just met with Holocaust survivors downstairs, including a widow, a dear friend, the late as well, who taught us about the perils of indifference. I think that they experienced only to see what's happening today. It's been clear that our administration stands with them, arm and arm and arm. We're not going to walk away. We're aggressive. We're addressing and implementing the first ever national strategy to combat anti-Semitism. Prosecuting hate crime, addressing anti-Semitism in schools, increasing security around Jewish centers of life, and more. We're calling upon all Americans to make clear there is no place for hate in America against Jews, Muslims, or anybody else. I specialize Deborah Lipschitz, the Holocaust expert, the first American ambassador-level special envoy to monitor and combat anti-Semitism around the world. It matters. You know, in this moment, we must hold the core values that make us Americans: equality, justice, freedom, dignity, respect. Values that, from the inception of our nation, have shaped the culture, the contributions, and the values of Jewish Americans, including all of you. Including nearly 300,000 Jews who peacefully rallied on the National Mall last month with enormous pride, unity, pride and even joy in the face of extraordinary pain. You embody what the late Rabbi Jonathan Sacks said: a people's capacity for joy cannot be destroyed itself. It cannot destroy itself. It's indestructible. Let me close with this. You know, after October 7th, our father returned to his kibbutz to salvage what he could from his home. What was left was rubble and ruin. The home, which he had hidden in with his wife and his daughter for 20 hours before being rescued. A home in the same neighborhood where his beloved son was brutally murdered. Unlike the ancient Hanukkah story, buried piles of shattered glass, burned debris, and bullet-riddled walls, he pulled something from the ashes fully intact, a menorah. That's now on display in the foyer of this White House, your house, just outside this room. He gave it to the President of Israel, who lent it to the Ambassador Jack Lew, a symbol of the Jewish people that not only survived, but heal, rebuild, and continue shining their light on the world. A reminder to hold on to the miracle of hope and faith. Because when we do, no night is so dark we can't find light. No night is so dark we can't find light. No one knows that better than the Jewish people. So ladies and gentlemen, happy Hanukkah and God bless you all.
Mr. Prime Minister, I'm grateful to be back in Israel in this incredibly difficult moment for this nation, but in fact, for the entire world. If you'll permit me, personal aside, I come before you not only as the United States Secretary of State, but also as a Jew. My grandfather, Maurice Blinken, fled pogroms in Russia. My stepfather, Samuel Pizar, survived concentration camps, Auschwitz, Dachau, Majdanek. So, Prime Minister, I understand on a personal level the harrowing echoes that Hamas's massacres carry for Israeli Jews, indeed, for Jews everywhere. The people of Israel have long and rightly prided themselves on their self-reliance, on their ability to defend themselves, even when the odds are stacked against them. The message that I bring to Israel is this: you may be strong enough on your own to defend yourself, but as long as America exists, you will never ever have to. We will always be there by your side. That's the message that President President Biden delivered to the Prime Minister from the moment this crisis began. It's the message that I and my other colleagues in the government have delivered to our Israeli counterparts on a daily, even an hourly basis. It's the message that I bring with me to our discussions today, and it's what I'll affirm when I meet with the members of Israel's newly formed national emergency government. We welcome the government's creation and the unity and resolve that it reflects across Israel's society. We're delivering on our word, supplying ammunition, interceptors, to replenish Israel's Iron Dome, alongside other defense materiel. First shipments of U.S. military support have already arrived in Israel, and more is on the way. As Israel's defense needs evolve, we will work with Congress to make sure that they're met. And I can tell you, there is overwhelming bipartisan support in our Congress for Israel's security.
The United States has Israel's back. We have the back of the Israeli people. We have their back today. We'll have it tomorrow. We will have it every day. We stand resolutely against terrorism. We've seen the almost undescribable acts committed by Hamas against Israeli men, women, and children. Every day, we're learning more, and it is simply heartbreaking. I come before you not only as the United States Secretary of State, but also as a Jew. My grandfather, Maurice Blinken, led pogroms in Russia. My stepfather, Samuel Pizarro, survived concentration camps, Auschwitz, Dachau, Majdanek. So, Prime Minister, I understand on a personal level the harrowing echoes that Hamas's massacres carry for Israeli Jews, indeed for Jews everywhere. I also come before you as a husband and father of young children. It's impossible for me to look at the photos of families killed, such as the mother, father, and 3 small children murdered as they sheltered in their home in kibbutz near Oz, and not think of my own children. This was just one of Hamas's countless acts of terror. In a litany of brutality and inhumanity that, yes, brings to mind the worst of ISIS. Babies slaughtered, bodies desecrated, young people burned alive, women raped, parents executed in front of their children, children in front of their parents. How are we even to understand this, to digest this? This must be a moment for moral clarity. The failure to unambiguously condemn terrorism puts at risk not only people in Israel, but people everywhere. At the same time that we've been shocked by the depravity of Hamas, we've also been inspired by the bravery of Israel's citizens. The grandfather who drove over an hour to a kibbutz under siege, armed only with a pistol, and rescued his kids and grandkids. The mother who died shielding her teenage son with her body, giving her life to save his, giving him life for a second time. The volunteer security teams on the kibbutzes who swiftly rallied to defend their friends and neighbors despite being heavily outnumbered. And we're lifted by the remarkable solidarity of the Israeli people, demonstrated in the long lines of people giving blood, in the hundreds of thousands of reservists who mobilized, some rushing home from abroad, people around the country opening their homes to fellow citizens displaced from the south. people of Israel have long and rightly prided themselves on their self-reliance, on their ability to defend themselves, even when the odds are stacked against them. The message that I bring to Israel is this: you may be strong enough on your own to defend yourself, but as long as America exists, you will never ever have to.
We've heard many countries express support in recent weeks for a durable political solution. Our message today is this: help us build that solution. Help us prevent the spread of war that will make two states and broader peace and security in the region even harder to achieve. Members of this council, we stand at a crossroads. Two paths lie before us. The difference between them could not be more stark. One is the path offered by Hamas. We know where it leads: death, destruction, suffering, darkness. The other is the path toward greater peace, greater stability, greater opportunity, greater normalization and integration. A path toward people across the region being able to live, to work, to worship, to learn, side by side. A path toward Palestinians realizing their legitimate right to self-determination and a state of their own. Nothing would be a greater victory for Hamas than allowing its brutality to send us down its path of terrorism and nihilism. We must not let it. Hamas does not get to choose for us. The United States stands ready to work with anyone ready to forge a more peaceful and secure future for the region, a future its people yearn for and so deserve.
I got this from my mother too. She never let me back down from any challenge. When I tried to hide from a neighborhood bully, she literally blocked the door. Go back out there, she said. And she was right. You have to stand up.
Even as we work toward progress on each of these urgent needs, we're focused on setting the conditions for a durable and sustainable peace and security. The United States continues to believe that the best viable path, indeed the only path, is through a two-state solution. That's the only guarantor of a secure Jewish and democratic Israel, the only guarantor of Palestinians realizing their legitimate right to live in a state of their own, enjoying equal measures of security, freedom, opportunity, and dignity. The only way to end a cycle of violence once and for all. And it's precisely now, in the darkest moments, that we have to fight hardest to preserve a path of stability, of security, of opportunity, of integration, of prosperity, and of peace. Not tomorrow, not after the war, but today.
We need to do more to protect Palestinian civilians. We've been clear that as Israel conducts its campaign to defeat Hamas, how it does so matters. It matters because it's the right and lawful thing to do. It matters because failure to do so plays into the hands of Hamas and other terror groups. There will be no partners for peace if they're consumed by humanitarian catastrophe and alienated by any perceived indifference to their plight. This is what binds us as human beings. I've seen images too of Palestinian children, young boys and girls, pulled from the wreckage of buildings. When I see that, when I look into their eyes through the TV screen, I see my own children. How can we not? Hamas doesn't care 1 second or 1 iota for the welfare, for the well-being of the Palestinian people. It cynically and monstrously uses them as human shields, putting its commanders and command posts, its weapons and ammunition, within or beneath residential buildings, schools, mosques, hospitals.
But civilians should not suffer the consequences for its inhumanity and its brutality.
It's our view that ceasefire now would simply leave Hamas in place, able to regroup and repeat what it did on October 7th. It is important to reaffirm Israel's right to defend itself, indeed its obligation to do so, and to take necessary steps so that October 7th can never happen again. But it's also very important the way Israel does that.
It is our position that the ceasefire is imperative to deal with the consequences, the humanitarian consequences of this conflict. And we believe that dealing with the various components of this crisis should be dealt with as well in an appropriate manner. But it is the international community's responsibility always to seek the cessation of hostilities, not to promote the continuance of violence, military activity that has a very dire impact on the well-being of the civilian population in a very restricted area.
This is not a religious war. It's not a war between Muslims and Jews. This is defined in its context, and all our values, Muslim, Christian, Jewish, all other human values dictate that we work for peace and we stop this madness, and we do not allow for the very dangerous dehumanization that we see.
Ultimately, the only way to ensure that this crisis never happens again is to begin setting the conditions for durable peace and security, and to frame our diplomatic efforts now with that in mind. The United States believes key elements should include no forcible displacement of Palestinians from Gaza. Not now, not after the war. No use of Gaza as a platform for terrorism or other violent attacks. No reoccupation of Gaza after the conflict ends. No attempt to blockade or besiege Gaza. No reduction in the territory of Gaza. We must also ensure no terrorist threats can emanate from the West Bank. We must also work on the affirmative elements to get to a sustained peace. These must include the Palestinian people's voices and aspirations at the center of post-crisis governance in Gaza. It must include Palestinian-led governance and Gaza unified with the West Bank under the Palestinian Authority. And it must include a sustained mechanism for reconstruction in Gaza, and a pathway to Israelis and Palestinians living side by side in states of their own with equal measures of security, freedom, opportunity, and dignity.